Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron. I am here with Ryan Nelson, the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management here. And Ryan, what are you up to today, man? How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
You know, cannot complain too loudly. Somebody, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I have a boss at work who sometimes I'll ask him every time we pop into a meeting, like, "Oh, how you doing?" He said, I can't complain. No one listens anyway. Mm-hmm. And like that's like his classic like line for it. And I'm like, nice. And so like every
What'd you
time,
say?
like, yeah, exactly. Sorry, what was that?
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you very well, having some technical issues, but anyway, Ryan, today I am actually excited. I'm very excited to kind of dive into this topic here. It's about market moods. It's, a bear market, a bull market, like what it all really means. I think we've thrown out like, different things on this podcast. You've probably heard like a bear or a bull market, and but I'm really curious to see if you can kind of break down into more details what the indicators of what those actually, when people throw it, say, oh, it's a bull market. What does that mean? And, how does it affect investors, the economy, all that good stuff is kind of some insight behind the curtain there. So you think that's doable? If not, it's going to be a pretty short episode.
Yeah.
So
Let's go straight to the personal section.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's just dive in there. But awesome, man. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so bull and bear markets, right? That's what you're defining as a market mood. So the market's going to have patterns over time of going up, going down, right? And investors often describe these patterns as moods. The two main moods are going to be bear and bull markets. So a bull market is going to be this general mood of optimism. So prices are oftentimes rising over a longer period of time. Investors feel confident and they buy more excited to buy more. The economy can feel strong. Typically, this is defined as like a rise of about 20% or more from a recent low would be considered a bull market, although I've seen different things for that as well. Whereas a bear market is going to have this general mood of pessimism. Prices are going to be falling over this period of time. Investors pull back and become cautious. News can feel negative and headlines are, exaggerate the fear. This is oftentimes defined as a 20% drop from the recent high. So bull, optimism, bear, going to be pessimism. So why this really matters? They do shape how the everyday investor feels. So bull markets, as I said, typically the average investor is going to feel more optimistic. They're going to be more inclined or want to invest. Whereas during bear markets, people are usually more nervous and want to wait it out before they invest. And so there is a challenge that our feelings can pull us in a certain direction or make us want to make a certain decision that isn't always wise for our long-term goals, right? So I'd say maybe just put a pin in that and say, hey, let's be aware that just because we feel cautious or we feel a little nervous or we feel confident, that may not be the best way to make investment decisions.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And I think as all of us hear this, and as I say that probably feels obvious, and we'd all say, yeah, of course,
yeah.
our emotional like nervousness or excitement isn't a good way to make investment decisions for our long-term retirement goals. But also, if we actually, look ourselves in the mirror and take an honest look at how we make investment decisions, there might be that might have more of an impact than we would care to admit. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely,
something to be aware of there. So a bull market, what causes like this to happen, right? So oftentimes company earnings are going to be stronger. There's lower unemployment rates in the market, maybe some rising consumer confidence, lower interest rates, positive economic momentum. all of that can sort of lead to these bull markets, whereas bear markets are often going to be recessions, higher inflation, interest rate hikes, global conflict potentially, maybe a major financial shock. So some sort of shock to the system could all result in a bear market. The reality is, though, these market moods are temporary, right? None of them last forever. So if you zoom out far enough, both bull markets and bear markets are just part of the normal cyclical nature of the economy and of investing and of the market. So, long-term results are going to come from staying invested in not predicting these different moods, right? So I think last week we talked, we talked a little bit about staying in the market and right. It's time in the market, not timing of the market. The same exact thing is going to apply here today. Time in the market is going to generate those long-term consistent returns, not timing of the market and trying to determine, I think the market's going to continue to go down, or I'm nervous, or I'm hearing these bad headlines. If we can remove ourselves from that, remove the emotion, and have a practiced, disciplined approach to long-term investing, I think we'll probably have a more positive investing outcome and a more positive experience while investing. An interesting kind of thing to note is over the long term, markets have historically trended upwards. So that also means that bull markets are often measured in years, where bear markets are often measured in months. So that helps put things in perspective as well. Bear market, just again, historically speaking, bear markets have been shorter than bull markets, hence why over time the markets have trended upwards, right? So as you're thinking, if you feel like if there's currently a bear market and you're hesitant to invest, putting that in, perspective can help and say, maybe now's actually not a bad time to be investing. Maybe while the market's lower is the best time to be investing.
Right.
And this is just cyclical and we're going to head into another bull market. And the same thing if you're currently in a bull market and, it could be, hey, I'm excited to invest now. But no, investing, there's going to be a bear market again eventually. But that doesn't mean any reason you shouldn't be still investing and having that disciplined long-term strategy.
No, I think that makes great sense there. And I also, I kind of think, and maybe this isn't the best apples to apples comparison, but I also I think about it like when people talk about like the real estate market, like people are like, it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market, and these certain things. And like, honestly, if you're waiting to like time that specific thing, if you are wanting to buy a house or, wanting to own property or whatever it is, like to wait for that, like, now it's like the buyer's market. Like sometimes you can just end up waiting a long time. Like, and maybe you don't get and your goals change or whatever. But I kind of think about it like with this if you're trying to wait until it's like, okay, cool, I can see that it's going to be a bull market here. Right. Now I get in, like you mentioned, it's you're not trying to time that.
Right.
And you could try, but overall, it's like, hey, does it? I remember the episode we did with like all the characters, like Larry the Lingerer, and I can't. That's the only one that really, it stands out to me. But like, it's like, hey, cool. Like you invested on the worst day of the year.
Yep.
But you're still like over time, most likely going to make more money than if you just like don't do it like at all. So it's an interesting piece, and I love that you keep calling that out about like the time in the market versus timing the market. I think that should be like a tattoo that people get.
Sure.
Like,
you first.
Like, me first. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm guilty of that for sure. I just like put it on my forearm to where I'm just like, hey, you know what? Oh, nope. We're good there. But no, it's super interesting to like, because you hear about bull and bear and like, cool, like this, they didn't build a statue of a bear outside of Wall Street,
right?
Kind of thing.
So one maybe analogy that could resonate with a few people, and this maybe will close us out, is you can think of the market like seasons, right? So there's going to be there's going to be a bunch more bull markets. There's going to be a bunch more bear markets. It's going to be cyclical, right? And just like our seasons, there's going to be a bunch more winters. There's going to be a bunch more summers. But we don't think like when winter comes around, we don't panic just because it gets cold, right? We prepare and we plan for it, and we know that there's going to be another summer, right? So spring and summer are just kind of around the corner. And so it's going to be the same idea. During a bear market, we don't necessarily need to panic because there's a bear market. We're going to plan for it. We're going to prepare for it, and we're going to know that there's a bull market coming, down the road. And so just keeping in mind that this is all cyclical and temporary, And both bull and bear markets, both are cyclical, both are temporary. Neither are going to be around forever. But again, historically, we have longer bull markets. So again, the market still trends upwards long term. So if we zoom out, you don't really care if you're putting money in during a bull or bear market. You just know it's going to be one of them. Who cares?
Right.
You're zooming out, and over the longer term, you're taking advantage of the long-term, effectively benefits of compounding interest over decades.
Sure. Yep. I think that really helps to paint that picture without a doubt of like, hey, that long-term approach is probably the best, and also probably, I mean, if you have the time to do it, it's also probably the least stress.
For sure, right?
I think about that.
Definitely, I'm sure.
I can't imagine, like, for myself, like I've mentioned a few times on this podcast, like I rarely check like my statements, because I when I first started investing with Alchemy, I was like, oh, cool, like, checking like weekly and these certain things, and like after a while, I was like, I can't do this. Like, are you kidding me? So it's like I check them like once or twice a year when we have like our annual meeting, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's going to go up, it's going to go down, but over the long term, like time has shown, like you have all this data of like, normally over the course of 5-10 years, a year even, things are just it's going to go up if you're in the right stuff, I would say. So at least that's the attitude I take on it. So
yeah, absolutely, I love it.
Awesome, man. Anything else to break on this one before we pause for a little bit here?
Nope, that'll do it.
Awesome, sounds good. Everyone, hang tight.
And now to put the personal in personal finance.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us back on the personal section of the Fiscal Physical podcast. So, Ryan, I'm going to ask you a question, and it's a funny kind of thing. I don't know if it's ironic or what the actual term is, but I can't remember if we've done this question before. But it's possible. But the question I have for you is, what is your earliest memory that you have? And as I was writing this, I was like, oh my God, like, maybe I don't have that great a memory, because I was like, I don't know if we've already covered this or not. So if we have, please hold us accountable. Let us know. But I'm curious what's the earliest memory you have?
I'm trying to remember. Do I know what I had for lunch?
Yeah.
I have some vague recollection. I mean, the first like vivid memory, I have no idea. I have some like vague recollections of like preschool, like the playground at my preschool. But yeah, I mean, theirs are like fairly vague at that point in time, but that would be like, I don't even know, but like age 3 or 4 or something like that, maybe 5. So I suppose, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there would be like my first memories that I cemented enough for me to recall or remember. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm right in that kind of same time frame. I think like 5 or 6, I can kind of start to remember like certain things. Like, I remember us like, I remember going to like a baseball game with my dad when I was like 5 or 6, and like I just remember like there was like a really great play, and there was a roar of the crowd, and I remember it being so loud.
Oh yeah,
like, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the loudest like thing I've ever experienced, and like even like I was like holding my hands over my ears, and it didn't matter. Like it was like we were just like reverberating and shaking, and it was just funny. Like, so that's like one of the earliest ones I have. But it's really interesting. I have a 2-year-old, and we talk about like, oh, let's take him and experience these things, and like, and bless my wife's heart, she's like, oh, it's gonna be so much fun for Arthur. I was like, he's not gonna remember that. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah, and so I'm like, but do we need to like spend all this money or do all these extravagant things for this like 2-year-old like who's never going to remember it? And I think that she painted a pretty good picture. It's like how you feel when you do those things. I think that you can start having those feelings and those emotions like earlier. So it's not really the memories, but it's like the feeling of how you felt during that. And so
I got to imagine there's impacts outside of just the raw memory itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think that those kind of things, because I remember even like that memory of it being like uncomfortably loud, it was still a great memory because I was with my dad, I was watching this baseball game, I got to be part of these certain things. So it is just very interesting. Like the memory piece of it overall is fascinating to me about like, hey, you're not going to remember this, but maybe I shouldn't do that because you're not going to remember it. I don't know. It probably still could have some negative consequences or positive. Hard to say. So awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Ryan. Hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Please let us know what your earliest memory is. I'd be really curious to see what kind of information and feedback we get there. But Ryan, I'll leave it to you to end this here, man.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.